Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Small Talk. I'm Amy, this is my wonderful partner Maggie. Together we are ThinkerThemer and you're watching the series where we talk a lot about a lot of random topics.
All sorts of random stuff.
Before we finally segue into some games. This week we are looking at a few Kickstarter or preview copies of games, so stay tuned for that. I wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone for the kind words. I was a bit sick in our last episode of Backchat. So thank you everyone for all the well wishes. I was only down and out for about 24 hours. It just so happened to be when we were filming. So it was a bit of a tough day, but got through and very happy to be at least through our first jab.
Yes.
And look, we are still in kind of a weird lockdown here in Melbourne.
It's an in-between it's coming out of a lockdown.
Coming out of a lockdown where we're only allowed to go up to 25 kilometres away from our house, but within that we can kind of do anything now. So it's a bit strange, but you know, we're still wearing masks indoors and outdoors, and you're not allowed to have people over to your house and things like that. So we're just eagerly awaiting. We're meant to be going actually to see my mum next week.
And hopefully.
Just for her, a big birthday of hers, and so we're just kind of keeping our fingers crossed that we can get away. If we do get away, it's going to be interesting filming Backchat while we are away, but anyway, that's a problem for another day.
That's a later problem.
That's a later
We'll address
problem.
that later.
But today we want to start by going through some postcards, because I think we had like 16 come in the last couple of weeks. So, you know,
great.
More than one a day, which is amazing. They're coming in from all over the world. Sorry in advance if we pronounce people's names wrong or the place you live wrong.
We are hopeless.
Terribly uncultured. But anyway, let's get started because there's a few to get through. But the first is one from a place called, I want to say Aachen in Germany, by someone named Achim. And they say that they really like our approach to board game reviews, even though me and my group are all more on the thinker side. So I thought I'd start with this one.
That's fine. I think there's room for everybody.
Thanks for being Team Thinker.
Yeah, well,
and
welcome.
Thank you for the beautiful postcard. I really love, you probably can't see on the camera, but there's a photo of the town, and then there's like little gold embellishments on all the buildings. So it's a really beautiful postcard. So thank you for thinking of us.
Next postcard is from Jennifer and Quinn. So this is the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. I lived in New York, so it kind of holds a very special place in my heart. So it's really awesome to, have reminders and have people watching from over there as well.
Brooklyn is such a cool place, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's very, I actually didn't spend that much time in Brooklyn when I was living in New York. I was more of a Manhattan and Jersey type person.
Well, because you were studying and
I was living in Jersey and studying in Manhattan. But we did, when we went back together, that's when we kind of were able to go to Brooklyn, and it's just so cool. And
it is really cool.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for sending us a postcard. The next one is from Rob from a town in the UK called Hertfordshire. Hertfordshire. And this town looks so beautiful. I love the architecture in the UK because you just don't get buildings that are like this old in Australia. And it's just so, you know what it reminds me of? I watch a lot of location, the UK version, and they're always going to these beautiful little villages, and then the houses are like so reasonably priced compared to here. So it's always like, I want to buy a little cottage in, you know, country England. But yes, a little slice of England in sunny Australia. It's not very sunny here at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Not at all.
A bit of a struggle to get some sun.
So probably feels a bit more like the UK today. But thank you so much for thinking of us and sending this through, Rob.
Thank you. Now this one is from Marty from the Netherlands, and apparently it's a flamingo, even though they apparently don't really have flamingos in the Netherlands. But the little line on it is I don't know if I'm going to say this. I'm probably
not going to say this right.
Waar is het vestige? No. And apparently translates to where is the party? So where's
Clearly
the party?
here on ThinkerThemer.
Well, that is the one word to describe
We are a party.
Maggie. It's like, how would you describe us? Party is how I would
super
describe. It is
really,
super,
really
super cute. So thank you for that.
Thank you for sending that, Marty. The next one is coming from San Diego, and it's John, or otherwise known as Von Catter, on YouTube, and he lives in San Diego, but he visited Australia and was in Perth when he was in the Navy, which is really cool. So yeah, we love Perth. What a wonderful place to be able to come and visit. And thank you so much for sending us a postcard. We have not been to San Diego, but it's one of those places that we always kind of, I don't know how, but it always gets taken out of our itinerary. Like we're like, oh, do we have time to get down there?
Yeah.
No, but one day we definitely want to make it there. So thank you so much, John.
Yes. Now, this is actually from Chip, who says, this is the lava hot springs from Idaho, but Chip actually lives 1,500 miles away from this. However, really loved it, so thought they'd send it to us. So we actually have hot springs here as well.
Yeah, just near our house, actually.
Yeah, very close to our house. They're not, what do you call it? Like
they're
real
not,
hot
yeah,
springs.
they're not natural
It's a manufacturer hot springs.
Yeah.
And now they're getting competition because another company's building hot springs literally across the street.
road. It's quite controversial.
It's very controversial amongst the local town. But so now we're going to have a lot more hot springs. None of them are real.
Great
but this
activity,
is lovely.
Though, and that's a
really
awesome
nice.
postcard.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Next one is from North Carolina, another place that we have not been, but I would love to visit. And this is from Donta. And Donta, otherwise known as Miss Raindrop on YouTube, has been watching our channel for a very long time, since the beginning, basically. And, she says, congratulations on the 5,000 subscribers. Thank you for being so supportive of us, even putting up with our original videos and the quality of those.
Which I'm sure we're going to say about this video in
probably.
a few
what were we talking about?
Tomorrow. What were we doing? This is a mess.
But thank you so much, Donta, for your support and for sending us a postcard. Can't wait to put that up on the wall.
Now, this one is from Aaron from Chicago. We have actually been to Chicago. The caption on it is, would you say caption? What would you call it? The
message?
The message says, Chicago, tall buildings, fresh water, good-looking people.
That was our experience.
Yeah. I love Chicago.
Yeah.
I just love how the lake it's so big.
It's incredible.
I was like, how is this not an ocean? I was pretty sure like that just feels like you're in the ocean.
And we went in summer, and so it was stunning.
Summer's
and we
beautiful.
hired bikes and we rode along the lake, and then we went on the building architecture tour as well, and that was just so fascinating. So we got really fond memories of Chicago. But also, Aaron, you said Richard sent us 3 postcards, so you thought you'd send 2. Only one has turned up so far, but
we'll wait for the other one.
Look for the other one.
Yes.
Keep an eye out for the other one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. The next 2, so we are getting multiples from different places, are from New Mexico, another place that we have not been.
Yeah.
But I'm super keen to get there because Darlene and Laura have sent us these postcards, and they talk, Darlene has spoken a lot about how much they love chilies in New Mexico, and that there's this hamburger as well that she talks about that makes me want to go over there just for that. And we both share this passion for red hot chili peppers. So,
Not me. I can't handle the chili. I try a little bit, but I have to have like baby spice.
Yeah, so
not the Spice Girl. Just most people won't even get this reference.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, just like I can't handle too much.
And this just looks so beautiful as well. This like kind of mountainous, canyony area. Darlene's actually sent us some photos before of like some sunsets and sunrises around this area. It just looks so amazing. Yeah. So thank you, Darlene and Laura, for sending those through.
Now, Santa Monica, we've got Amelia from Santa Monica. It's probably one of my favorite places
to hang out.
Yeah, and I love the sort of like the vintage look of the postcard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of reminded of like this is kind of like the style that we're going for with our. Like,
it looks a lot like our wedding invitation.
Our wedding invitation, which was all about because we were meant to get married in California, but it wasn't to be because, you know, the world had other plans, pandemic and all that stuff. So yeah, this is sort of like a nice little like, oh yeah, I love that aesthetic and I love the place. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We have lots of fun memories, especially of like when we have time at the LA airport, LAX. It's like not the most pleasant airport to hang around at. So we often like leave and go to the beach and it's really beautiful out there. Yeah. Now the next one is a little bit closer to home. This is Sydney, Australia. You can see from here, you've got I don't actually know what this...
I've never been to the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know what your stadium is called. Oh, maybe it's on here. Stadium Australia. Oh, it's the home of the Olympic Games. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but I didn't know.
Clearly not sports people.
I did not know that was called Stadium Australia. That's really interesting. And that's the Opera House, of course. Everyone knows the
iconic
Opera House. And this is from Jason. Jason has been very helpful for me personally, because we talk a lot about like Kickstarters, and he helps keep an eye out sometimes when games come up for sale, so we're always chatting. Jason also sent along with this postcard, he sent me some hot sauce, which I actually had today on lunch, and it was good and hot. So yeah, it was a Carolina Reaper chili pepper sauce, and it was so good. So
apparently it had a long burn tail.
It did.
It's like it's not getting.
If anything, it's getting hotter. But it was so good.
Like
I really like
yogurt going. If anything, it's making it angrier for some reason. But
yeah, but I love hot sauce, and I like the spicy end of hot sauce as well. I like that Jason says in here, controversially, let me know if you're ever dropping by Sydney and want to let me show you how much better the food is compared to Melbourne. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah,
not sure about that, Jason.
Agree to disagree, but I will gladly go on a tour.
Gladly try it out, and maybe we can do the same if you're ever down in Melbourne. So thank you so much, Jason, for sending that, and the hot sauce and some chocolates.
And some chocolates,
yes.
Which
Thank you so much.
I jumped on that. I have no fear of chocolate. Yes. Now another one, Philadelphia. We have Craig. Now, Craig actually calculated that he's 10,000 miles away from Rye, from where we are. That is quite a long
That's a long way away.
Never been to Philadelphia, but I'd be curious to check it out.
I'd be curious to check out those Philly steaks.
Yes, we hear about the Philly steaks.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia cream cheese, is that from Philadelphia? Or am I being very uncultured?
Don't know.
Well, it's spelled the same.
It is spelled the same. But there's another part of the US that we just haven't gotten to, but I'd love to check it out. Yeah, and thank you, Craig, as always, for all your support and for sending us a postcard. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next one is from Nova Scotia, and this is, we've never been to, I feel like we just keep saying, I thought we were quite well travelled, but every time we get a postcard, I'm like, I haven't been there, so there's still so much of the world to see.
It's good. Adding to the list of places to visit.
Nova Scotia is one that I've always wanted to go to in Canada. It looks like such a beautiful part. This postcard is helping sell it very well. It's really beautiful. And this is actually coming from, it was like a midgie.
It's Australia.
Coming from, it's like really annoying.
Like it's not a spider or a snake. That's how we keep people out with the myth of like there's spiders and snakes everywhere.
There are. This is coming from Jamie and Jeff. And if you know their channel, you will recognize those names as the couple from Foster the Meeple. And they have started a YouTube channel not too long ago, and they are doing phenomenally well. They are just awesome, lovely people. Check out their channel, Foster the Meeple. They do all sorts of, they do reviews, but they also have like every month they talk through the games that they've been playing, and they do painting of miniatures as well. Really love those guys and love what they're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time to send us a postcard. Look forward to putting it on the wall.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And now from Holland, the whole family like got in on writing this this postcard. There's Hedvig, Rong, Timo, and Lottie. But even Timo, who's 3, helped sign the postcard, so that is really, really beautiful, from the Netherlands. And I always sort of think, like, we need to go back. We have been to the Netherlands, but I really, really love it, and I feel like there's a lot of similar hobbies and interests that I have with people from the Netherlands. We kind of think,
the people there are really cool. I think.
Yeah.
Probably cooler than us.
Definitely cooler than me.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
a given.
both of us.
That's not difficult.
But it's such a nice place, and I love the like. I love all the cheese and the bread. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good.
It's beautiful.
And the fries, hot fries.
It's beautiful.
The dipping, so good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last one that I have to share, do you have one more? You've got one more?
Yes.
My last one is from Treasure, otherwise known as Draw Deep Water on YouTube. And Treasure actually did send me a message about this because she went to the trouble of hunting down a series of postcards, which was a kind of like a marketing campaign that was put on by Travel Oregon. And we have also not been there.
Not been
there. Yes. But they created this campaign called Only Slightly Exaggerated to show, and it was all these like illustrative postcards that show kind of, you know, the fields, and it's got like this real whimsical style to it. It reminds me a bit of like the Japanese anime style. And so it shows, you know, some of the lakes and some of the beautiful fields. This are the Three Sisters, the Magic Coast, and the iconic
does like
old
a
town.
Studio Ghibli kind of
It does,
feel to it.
It's really, really beautiful. So thank you so much for going to the trouble to track those down because they're going to look fabulous on the wall.
Yes.
And I think in her travels, trying to find that, also found a vintage postcard
very cool.
of Melbourne. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's so cool. It's Collins Street, which, funnily enough, the locals here refer to Collins Street as kind of the Paris end of town, which
that's correct.
Which is a bit of an exaggeration, but there are a lot of like high-end fashion stores there, so they call it a little bit of Paris. It's not really like Paris, but
it
is really
not
beautiful.
At all like Paris.
And in this postcard, you can see one of the old trams
which we still have actually. That's still there's now the sort of really, really old tram is now the city circle. So it's like the one that is free. And it's just, well, actually everything within the cities like, now. Well, but it's more like the old school. It just goes around the edge.
It's the tourist tram. It's the tourist tram now that does a circuit of the city with the old original trams. So you can still see them in the city. And that is such a beautiful and thoughtful thing to send. So thank you so much to Treasure. And you've got one more, don't you?
Yes, Mac. Look at this beautiful foresty landscape. What'd you call that? Like just scape?
Yeah, it looks like a photo.
Yeah, I think Mac took this photo. So it's from Bloomington, Indiana. So again, we have not
been there.
But this looks so peaceful and zen and gorgeous, with the puppy there as well. So thank you so much for sending us this through. Actually, it's making me want to go for a hike in the woods. I love when I take the dog out for a walk. Amy doesn't often love coming on the long walk. We have a short walk, which Amy will join us on, and then there's a longer walk. The longer walk, not quite like this, but there's a bit of more like foliage and greenery, and I love kind of walking through that, particularly on a cooler day like today. Quite nice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
So thank you to everybody. Sorry that we have to skip over them so fast. There's just so many of them. But thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you. When we go to our mailbox and we get one, and it's usually just one or two that are there, it's hard for me to describe what it means, but it's really special that people are going out of their way. You know, of course you have to buy the postcard and the stamp, and we really, really appreciate that effort. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes like making content, it does take a lot of time during our week, and it's like every week. So it's kind of a lot all of the time. And those little moments really make it all worth it.
Well, it's because you feel the connection with which otherwise you get a little bit through the comments. Through the comments
and stuff, but actually
chatting,
that's why we wanted to do it, so that we could have, so we'd have that physical reminder of just like all the people that we're connecting with doing this. So thank you so much. Can't wait to get them up on our wall. I think we're reaching that point where we have enough of them now to really start to make a collage. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
So thank you. And still time to send us one if you would like to. We'll put the address down in the comments.
We're never going to return to sender. It's like even
it's the cutoff. No. Okay, so we usually do a frequently asked segment, question segment, or an IAQ, infrequently asked questions.
You just have to ask it once and we'll try and address it.
But actually, one of our frequent viewers and commenters, Mirko, actually asked me a question asked us a question a little while ago, and I said, I'm taking that on board and we'll get to that question. But actually, I've been putting it off quite a bit. And the reason is Mirko asked about our coming out stories. And I guess it's a very personal question. So we were kind of mulling over like the way to talk about that and the best forum to do so. But it is Pride Month. So I want to say, first of all, happy Pride Month to everybody out there. And I think it's important for us to talk about our own story and experiences, but I do want to say that I pretty clearly want to say that this could be, kind of a trigger warning for anyone, because, if you are going through, something like this, or you had a particularly painful coming out experience, like, please feel free to just skip this. We're not bothered if you watch it or you don't. Likewise, if you're not interested about our coming out story, please skip ahead to the games. But because it's Pride Month, we do want to talk about it. Also, because sometimes I think that we started this channel to help represent, I guess, queer people in the gaming space. And sometimes when you just hit record and you're at this time in your life where you're much more confident in putting yourself out there, it doesn't necessarily show the story of how you came to be in this comfortable place. So it is important to reflect on it. But we'll try not to get too emotional. It is a very emotional topic. So forgive us if we need to stop or kind of...
I'm already getting emotional. I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Do you want me to go first, or you want to get it over and done with?
No, that's fine. I'm just an emotional sort of person. As a themer, I just kind of like,
it's a hard topic, I think, for any queer person, is just reflecting on, like, if you grew up when we grew up, we're in our late 30s, and so, the 90s was probably not a particularly friendly place as it is today. Oh, babe, do you want to stop?
I'm okay. It's just like it's one of those, like, when I get emotional, it's like, well, now the wave is here and I can't, even if I'm not, because I'm not sad. It's just like, it's like a charged, it's like a charged experience.
Do you want to stop recording for a bit?
No, it's just like, this is what happens.
Do you want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, and I'll try to kind of be, stay strong so Maggie can feel
I was like, strong. I'm just going to be upbeat. I'm just going to like, no.
And like, this is why we kind of did put it off for a bit. But yeah, as I said, it's important. I think that also I want to talk about, like, coming out is often referred to as this one-time experience where you go through this big thing and then you move on and that's it, you're out there, you're loud and proud, and that's fine. But really, it is a lifetime, I think, of, especially for me, it has been, it took me many, many, many years to get to the point where I felt comfortable with myself. And it wasn't so much about the people around me, but more about, my own ability to feel comfortable because of, the society you grow up in, and the fact that you do get othered a lot, or we did probably when we were younger. It's a bit of it's a process. And even when I was lining up for my vaccine for 6 hours in the cold, but
that was not great.
Yeah, that was not great. But the guy behind me actually said, "Oh, that's so nice of your friend to wait for you," referring to Maggie. And it just kind of feels like in those day-to-day interactions, you're coming out all over again. Like there's a lot of that repetition of just like, oh, actually, that's my partner, or, sometimes I say wife because that's just easier, or my girlfriend, or whatever it is. But it's kind of like, then you've got to mentally prepare yourself for how is this person going to react to that. And I think that that's a hard thing to communicate to people who haven't had that lived experience of just like the fear of constantly not knowing how someone is going to perceive you or change their perception of you. And I personally had, I always knew that there was something different about me. I knew I came out when I was 14, so I was quite young. But even younger than that, I kind of always knew that I didn't somehow fit in with all of the other kids. I remember sitting at school and the girls all talking about the celebrity guy that they were crushing on, and I just like, I just didn't understand. And it's not that I knew I was gay. And I think that, in my immediate life, I didn't know any gay people. And at the time, visibility was really poor. And so I hadn't seen any gay people in media or anything like that. And I think that's what made it so hard, was that my family, I was kind of living with my mum, my stepdad, they just hadn't been, they didn't have any gay friends. And so they didn't know what to do with me. I think they didn't understand what it meant for my life. And so when I came out, I didn't really come out. I just kind of fell for, a girl, and and there was lots of like.
It's probably the easiest way of realizing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I've got these feelings.
Yeah, and that was kind of my realization point, was like, you'd kind of had my first kiss with a boy and just felt nothing. And then, with a girl, it was just a completely different experience. And so there was just, my mum kind of accidentally found out through a letter or something. I can't remember what it was, but she really didn't take it well to begin with. And not because she had any kind of negativity towards gay people, but just because she couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And, we went through a pretty tough time. I don't know how much of that she remembers, but it was, it was tough, and I felt not very understood, and she thought maybe it was just part of growing up and something I was going through. But to her credit, she actually took herself along to a PFLAG support group, which is parents and friends of lesbians and gays. And my mum is the most social person you'll ever meet in your life. Loudest, social, most social, extroverted person.
Yeah.
And she started going to this support group, and then we lived in a very small town at the time, and eventually we'd be walking down the street together, and these like lesbians and gay men would be walking past going, hey,
She was
to
more
my mum.
popular in the community than
Absolutely.
in your community
and she's
than
like,
you were.
and she was like best friends with them all, and like,
I
but
can see that. I can see,
it was amazing. But actually now she's like hugely, supportive of us, and just like such a big part of our lives. But I think that, telling people at that time was fine. I had some really close friends who were also going through similar experiences. Some of my closest friends who also turned out to be gay. And so I had that support network. It wasn't until I moved away from my hometown, and I moved to, let's just say, a less open-minded area of Australia. And I went through some really tough experiences, actually. When I was at university, was probably one of the hardest times of my life. I had a girlfriend at the time, but, mostly kept that quite hidden. But if someone would ask me, I would say, I have a girlfriend. And a lot of the time that resulted in people not talking to me again, people not sitting next to me in a lecture anymore. And I didn't make any friends through university until like the very end of my time at university. I was working as a photographer as well, actually, at a koala sanctuary, funnily enough. And, I came out to a colleague who then told everybody else, and they never spoke to me again. I worked there for months, and then I eventually resigned because I was just ignored. And it was like, and that makes me quite emotional to talk about, because there was nothing I could do about it. And it wasn't like I was trying to, do anything. I was just being myself. And I had a girlfriend. I was in a very long-term relationship. And it's just hard when that happens. And I think that because that happened, I started to withdraw a lot. And then as it happened, I was kind of in a couple of relationships in my life where my partner wasn't out. And that's a whole nother thing, because you can be completely out and okay, but if your partner's in the closet or just is hiding it from people for some reason, then it's very...
well, they need more time.
Because that's right. You never know, everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
And, but it was hard for me because there'd be big events like family weddings and things where I wasn't invited, or every time I was, around their family, I was the best friend. And there was just like a lot of layers and years of putting up with kind of just not being me. And I think that also I was working in corporate life, And, you know, I'll never forget that one of my bosses said to me, you know, the best thing about you being gay is that you don't look gay and you don't act gay.
Yeah.
And often I was also told not to tell clients I was gay because, you know, we might lose the client. And I think it's just, you know, for me that's very hard because I reflect on Amy in her 20s. And it was a very mixed experience for me, and I felt like I wasn't being true to who I am. And really, like Maggie and I have been together now for like 10 years. 9-10 years. And you know, we're both very out, and that has had a profound effect on me and my interactions with people. You know, and being engaged and all of that.
The world has also sort of evolved.
The world has evolved. We live in
us.
Melbourne now as well, which is a very progressive place.
But like even just now, like representation in the media, like most people will have, not most people, but particularly, you know, if you've got sort of American media or even,
sometimes
not so much Australian. We don't have a lot of representation still in Australian media, but there's a lot of like mainstream media. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot, and so you can see them in context.
You can almost not make a TV show, and sometimes we even get to be the lead character now. The protagonist.
But that's the thing. Like it means that everyone gets to see it in context, and it does help normalize it, because that's the thing. Like it shouldn't be this difficult. I don't know if I'm going to be able to like get through it. And I don't know why it's so emotional. I think it's something. Growing up in South America, at the time that I grew up, it was not really an accepted thing. It was kind of like the only context of a gay character in everyday life is usually like the flamboyant gay man that everyone kind of makes fun of. And it's like safe because they're sort of othered in that way. But yeah, like... everybody was so, the people who were gay were in the closet, or it was not something that you talked about. So I think partly that might have been part of my, sort of always kind of had this desire or this sense like I don't fit in here, like I don't quite, like my personality doesn't really feel like I belong here. And so I think that's, I don't know if it was maybe subconsciously why I almost like run away I didn't run away, obviously. I had the support of my mom financially and also emotionally to go to the States and study there. Again, like my mom, I think this is the other thing, like there were so many misconceptions and so much ignorance in terms of the gaps in knowledge and gaps in understanding of what it is and how it all fits in. And like my mom was a dentist, so she, during the 80s and 90s, one of the biggest fears for her as a dentist was HIV. So, and because obviously like she's a dental surgeon, so living in people's mouths where there's like blood and there's, you know, sharp equipment everywhere, that was one of the big fears in that profession. And so for her, I think there was that connection between that and like, well, it's gay men that or sort of like, gay men that spread HIV. And so I think, and I don't know if it was maybe the bits that I kind of could overhear of conversations among adults, but it was, again, it was sort of, I think part of it was just like the ignorance of it. And a lot of fear around, you know, well, that's the worst thing that could happen, that your kid could turn out to be gay. So that sort of shoved me well in the closet, even to the point where like I couldn't even, I couldn't even sort of even humor the idea or the thought that I could be gay. So I think it wasn't until, and I kind of almost convinced myself that maybe, even at the time, that maybe I was just asexual, that I was just not attracted to, because I just wasn't really attracted to men or to boys or to my contemporaries, but also I also wasn't in a position where I found myself attracted to women at the time. And it wasn't until I was then living in America and I had sort of like a different, I don't know, I was just like more independent and I could kind of do my own thing and met more people who were more like-minded, that eventually was like, I fell in love with a girl, and it was sort of kind of like penny drops and you're like, oh, this makes sense. this was my thing. Obviously, not to say that there aren't people who are asexual, and that's a completely separate thing, but that wasn't my case. I was very much sexually attracted to women, not all women. That's the same.
I like all your caveats.
Well, yeah, you have to just, because you never know.
Yeah.
So I think when that happened, because I was already not in my own, like I wasn't really in a family circle that I grew up in, and I was sort of like with my chosen new friendship group. And then when I came to Australia, it was a lot easier to just like, I was able to come out to my workplace without like any issues in a way, just kind of drop it in conversation that I had a girlfriend and that I live with my female partner and by that time, that was like, bit early to mid 20s. That was around the time that I actually came out. So yeah, like that was fun. And as you said, like every workplace, every interaction is like, it's another opportunity to, where you kind of like, there's a part of you that's like, do I go there?
Yeah.
Are they going to, or like you're waiting as soon as you say, oh yeah, my partner, you're waiting, because 9 times out of 10, someone's going to go, oh, he, and you're like, oh no, she. So
you have to correct them.
And then at the moment, I think people either tend to respond with either like like they want to overcompensate for it. They want to kind of show that they're okay with it, which is nice.
Is really sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet and endearing. The ideal scenario is when there's just no assumption. And that's really nice to hear when it's rare, but when it does happen, when you say partner and the person goes, oh, do they, or does your partner, without it making any assumptions.
About gender, I think also, as Maggie and I have become older, but also we've progressed in our careers, like we both have, fairly senior roles at the companies that we work with. It's really, I do see as an opportunity now. And so when people ask me, I don't mind very publicly, and often I will, probably talk about you before I even get asked, because I like to, set that as a standard for wherever I work now, is that if people in, senior positions are showing, that it's okay and to just be who you are and to lead with like authenticity, I think that, that is so important. And that's the reason, and I hope you can see like why this took us so long to talk about on video, but also this is why it's so important to us to exist in this hobby and to say that if you're out there and you're struggling with who you are, it's okay, and we're all here and we can be here together. And that is really important to us personally. More than anything else, more than the number of subscribers, more than the games that we get sent. It's just being here and having been welcomed the way we have, not by everybody in the community, but by a significant proportion of people who you all tune in, you watch, some of you are listening right now, and it's just, I can't, like, there's no words. I didn't expect it. We didn't expect it because of what we've been through in our lives. You're always kind of on guard, especially in a public forum. But is there anything else that you want to talk about?
And not just thank you. And yes, it can be difficult, but even though I'm like, crying now, it's like there's been like 3 or 4 times where I wanted to say I'm sorry for getting emotional, but it's like, no, I'm not gonna like apologize for getting emotional. It's fine to feel however you feel, and just like feel it, let it out, express it. Don't know where it comes from, but it's good, and it does. It's hard and it's scary. It's so scary, but then you get so much from it. Like you gain, that's like
being able to be yourself is more important than anything else or anyone's opinion of you. 100%. And like I feel like we could have brought up some emotions for some people. If you are struggling, please of course reach out to people around you. We're always here. I'm going to drop our emails as well in the description. Please feel free to contact us at any time. That is our story. I'm going to stop it there.
I'm probably going to stay red for a while. So unfortunately, I'm going to be looking like I'm crying over every game that we talk about. It's not the game.
Just hoping they're not using this in any of their campaigns.
Apologies in advance.
I love this game. It's just like
I just feel very strongly about this game.
Just very emotional about this game. If you like skipped that whole segment and you jumped ahead,
it's like, why are they crying?
What happened to them? Maybe we'll just pause for a second.
Yeah.
Take a break. We'll be back in a sec. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
We had a little break and we are back and excited to talk about only 4 games today. But we're going to talk about them in a bit of depth because 3 of them are, well, 2 of them are coming to Kickstarter. 1 of them is on Kickstarter currently. And the other one, I believe you can pre-order at the moment, the expansion. So we wanted to talk about our game experiences with all of these so that you can get a more informed opinion about whether you want to go ahead and spend all the money on all of these games. So the first one is an expansion for the game Villagers.
Yes. So obviously this is Villagers, the original base game.
By Sinister Fish Games, and the designer is Hakon Hoelgarder. Garder?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's Garder. In Villagers, we are, I love the theme of this one. You are bringing together a village and you are making sure that you're getting a good combination or the right synergies between the professions or the specialties of all the villagers. I absolutely love, it's a little bit of, what would you call it? It's kind of like semi-tableau building.
Basically, in this game, you have a hand of cards that you're dealt with to begin with, which are a series of villages. But then there's also a drafting area that exists in front of all players.
The market and the road, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting to the thematic term.
Okay.
One is the road, where you can see the different villages face up, and you can choose which villages you want to bring into your hand. And the other area is the market, which is kind of face down. And there you can draft villagers, but you don't know what you're going to get. You know what suit they belong to, but you don't know which exact villager it's going to be. And which exact villager it's going to be really matters in this game because, as Maggie mentioned, you will have one type of I guess profession. So for example, it could be the mining profession, which is the part of the ore suit. And what happens is the cards of the villagers stack on top of each other and they need to be in a set order. So you might have a really powerful card, but that requires 2 very specific villagers in that same suit to come before that card in the chain. And so you are kind of trying to draft and then you are trying to build out these chains. But something else that you need to think about is that in your tableau, you're also collecting 2 different types of symbols. One is food and one is the little house that gives you a build action. And what both of those allow you to do is increase the number of cards that you can draft when it's your turn and increase the number of cards that you can build into your tableau when it's your turn. And so it's really important to collect the cards that give you that like engine building kind of ability. But also it's important to go for the cards that are going to give you coins because in this game, coins are your victory points and the person who has the most coins at the end of the game is going to win.
Yeah. So should we talk about the actual expansion, which is what the new component is?
So the new expansion is Shifting Seasons. We have an advanced review copy. Everything that we're going to be showing in terms of B-roll is all prototypes. So no doubt in the Kickstarter there will be additional things that get added in. But for now we've tried some of the base kind of mechanics that are being added.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been introduced is seasons. So now under the stacks that didn't trigger a market sort of event, now you have these season events, which Amy loves because Amy loves an event.
I love a public event.
And I do love it sort of adds this element of like, ooh, another surprise little thing that's going to happen and affect the gameplay. The other thing that it adds is the clay profession. So you have, which we were obviously took to very
We were so excited about the new clay kind of group of villagers because it includes a potter. Amazing. And we've been doing pottery lessons, so I'm just like, I can't help myself but collect them every time.
She does. Every time it comes out, it's like yoink.
Even though they're not the most useful and they're very rare in the pack, but
because they're just like one kind of profession. The other thing that it introduces is the new solo mode. So with the original game or the base game, there is the Countess solo mode where you're playing against the Countess as the AI, and the Countess has a couple of event decks that you're working through. she collects this like ridiculous table. You need a lot of table space because she collects this sort of ridiculous table of all these characters without having to respect a lot of the rules that you have to abide by. But you are very much playing a competitive game against that AI. In the new expansion, there's a monastery solo mode where essentially the story is that the local monastery is very self-sustainable, so they don't actually need to interact with you at all. So it's more of a, you get to just play your own game and just beat your own score type of thing. All that the monastery does is steal or convert some of the people from the road, who obviously, you know, as they're walking past, the people, the nuns and the monks or the priests from the monastery are very good at converting them, and then those people join and are never seen ever again. So it's just one very small way of taking away some of those villagers from your pool of people to pick. Mm-hmm. I found that with this one, it is more relaxed in that you're not competing against anyone. But I actually really enjoyed the Countess mode.
The original solo?
Yeah, the original solo, just because it actually, I enjoy this more, I enjoy the multiplayer experience of this mode overall. Mm-hmm. And I think the Countess mode actually does add a bit of, like, you get a little bit of that thrill and you don't necessarily know how well she might be doing, or you get a bit of a sense. So I thought it recreates that as well. But with this expansion, it's like, would I say that it's essential that you need to have it? I would actually say that you don't need to have it to have a good game, but I would not play it without it now. Because the events are really, like, having the seasons is really cool.
So one thing that I really love about this game, I really actually love the game box here, and I love the way that things are catalogued. So you have all of these, like, markers that kind of house the game, house the different cards in here. And ideally we would have the wooden coins, but we don't have those.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, all the cards fit in here. And with this game, I was so, you know, we hadn't played this game before we were sent the base game and the advanced review copy of Shifting Seasons. And we had this set up on our table and we played a lot of it. Many games. I still have not beaten Maggie
I won
once.
every single game.
I have not.
I still don't know.
I haven't even gotten close. Anyway, hold on. I want to say that in all those games, we had so much fun, and I think that this is a really excellent two-player experience. I have no doubt that it will also be good at 3. Maybe it will start to get a bit long at 4. But in terms of a great two-player, satisfying experience, we also played the longer variant of the game as well.
Which is also introduced in Shifting Seasons. So it's just, but I feel like it's probably going to be in BGG already in terms of how you arrange the stacks.
You're just adding more cards.
You're adding more cards to the stacks, so it makes the game go longer.
Yes, because it's essentially the timer in the built into the game is those stacks that are available in the market. With this game, I just think it's such a fun, easy breezy kind of experience. It's not difficult, and because it's not difficult, I think once you've mastered the base game, more is more. So, like, all of the expansions I've really enjoyed as we've added them in. I really love the, is it the monuments?
Yeah, I don't have them there.
But what developments?
The developments,
we have.
Wrong. So I will show them on the screen.
Yeah, there's developments which you know, the person is kind of like a group objective, but the person who does the best on that objective every round gets some kind of benefit, which is super cool because it's like this little mini race within the game. But then in a similar way, I love the seasons, and you know, some people might not like a random event that occurs, but the fact that it affects all players and you have no idea what's coming. I just like it. I think it adds a tiny little bit of randomness into the game that makes for a really fun, unexpected experience. And I wouldn't play it without that anymore because it just, I think it brings so much.
I agree.
Shifting Seasons. And also, I mean, the clay villages, I just love those. And so I immediately swapped out one of the other, even though it's meant to be for 4 to 5 players.
Yeah, for a higher player count. They do say a variant that you can like put in so that you can play with them, which is what we did.
So we did that straight away. And I'm sure they will add more things to this campaign.
Yeah, there's more special, some of the special villages, which are quite fun as well.
There's more powerful special villages as well. I should mention that comes in here. But those, again, you just throw them in and then away you go. So I think if you're a fan of villages or you want to pick up everything,
might as well.
You know, we've got the playmat as well. well, which is awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, I just feel like because this game just gets better and better the more content you have, highly recommend picking up Shifting Seasons, and that is Villages.
All right, the next game. Next game is Tranquility Ascent. Now we did do a review of Tranquility. This is a standalone game, so even though they're called the same, it's a similar. They're definitely of the same family and vein. I would say Tranquility Ascent is like the more sophisticated older sibling.
Yeah, if you just quickly explain Tranquility, it was a game that came out and was on Kickstarter by Board Game Hub as well, was the publisher. And this beautiful art by Tristan Rossen, and the game is by James
Amy had the
Emerson.
box across the room, and it just kind of caught my eye. I'm like, what is that? That looks gorgeous. And it was this little box. Every card as well inside. It's just stunning.
But Tranquility, the original game, also had that same kind of beautiful art style. And it was very similar to the game The Mind, in that you have low information, you're not allowed to communicate with each other, but it's a cooperative game where you're trying to put numbers in ascending order from, I think that was 1 to 30 in that game.
Yeah, I can't remember how many numbers in total.
It was more than that.
Yeah, I can't remember what the total was.
Yeah, it was
sort of like a 30, I think it's like a 30 grid, 30 number grid.
Anyway, it was a lot. But that game was fairly straightforward, like just you've got one line of numbers and trying to fill them in. And we really, really loved that game actually. And this one introduces more. You're now using that same method of not talking to each other. You've each got a stack of cards with numbers on them, but these cards are now triangles, and they're not triangles, they're like pyramids, and they fit on top of these triangles that you lay out at the beginning, because you're trying to replicate the process of hiking up a mountain. And you are building this mountain, and the objective of the game is to build the entire mountain to place like the summit at the very top, and have all of the cards placed in in a legal way. But what's interesting about this game mechanically is that instead of building one set of numbers, every row in that mountain needs to have numbers as close as possible to the one previously placed, but also there are different coloured cards in this game, and you can't put the same coloured card next to each other.
On the same line,
On the same line. Now, originally in Tranquility, the idea was that if you had to go from number 1 to number 3, you would have to discard from your hand the number of cards that you'd skipped. So in that case, the difference is 2. So you would have to discard 2 cards from your hand. If you jump higher and you have a bigger gap, you have to discard more cards from your hand, which means that ultimately you might not be able to finish the puzzle. The same idea is true here. You can jump as far ahead from the number as you like, but then you need to discard cards from your hand. There are some other cards that do different things in this. I won't go into too much detail, but you can put down a bridge that gives you kind of a pass for putting a number down. And
it's a placeholder.
It's a placeholder, but you've got to come back and fill in that bridge with a number that you can legally put there. Before the end of the game, before you put that summon on, otherwise you cannot win. There's another type of card, a campsite card, that allows you to replace a card with a card from another area in the mountain as well, which can be useful. The other little trick to this game is that you can't place a card. So if you've got a number 2 card, that can't go in a level 3 or above part of the mountain. So you're also trying to use your low valued cards first at the lower part of the mountain, and you leave your higher valued cards to the higher part of the mountain. There's also a lot of expansions that come with this game. There's a variant where you have a little green hiker, and that green hiker needs to have a green path through the mountain to the top of the summit. Otherwise you can't win the game.
There's the other one, actually I don't know the name of it, but it's at the base, the triangles at the base have combinations of numbers that you have to try and aim for to make somewhere in the pyramid. And there's a goat expansion as well, which is very cute. Like some of the cards have a little goat icon on it, and so you put a little goat cube on it, and then you're trying to, it gives you almost something to do, or a more purposeful reason to discard or spend some of the cards that you're not going to be using, because then that's how you help rally the goats up the mountain as well. But it's very cute. Also has a solo mode, which I really enjoyed as a solo. Again, because it's still a fairly, like overall, it's still a fairly abstract game. It's not the type of game that I would be coming back to and to again by myself. I really do again enjoy this more as a multiplayer experience. But it plays really well as a solo. I found that it felt easier than the multiplayer. But there's ways of kind of adjusting
making it harder. Yeah. I really enjoy this game. So we don't have that many co-op games. I do tend to, actually I saw a video recently on Shelf Stories with Jason and Tim Mativier from Meepleville in Las Vegas, and they were talking about co-ops, and Tim doesn't like co-ops but likes ones where there's imperfect information like this, or basically, low communication, where you don't know what the other people have. There's no opportunity for someone to kind of go alpha on the game. I like those games too. I really like this one, and I really liked Tranquility. That's the reason why we did a preview for it, because we just fell in love with it. And I like this one better.
Yeah, I think the good thing with this one is that you get all the same fun with the mechanics of Tranquility, but because you have a couple of additional choices, it gives you a bit more freedom, and it's like a different thinky puzzle in terms of like, I've got more resources to make this work, or to save a move that maybe wasn't optimal, or the person really was a bit strapped for in terms of the cards that they had. So I feel like this gives you more options. It's again beautiful on the table. It's huge. It takes a big space.
Changing
which apparently
that,
that's been modified from the prototype. But I think, which one would you, if you had to choose between this and Tranquility, if we're going for this one, I would agree.
I already said this one.
I would do Ascent as well. I think it's also just like the pyramid shape is really
the shape is really fun, and because you can play on multiple rows at once, it does give you more options. And I really like the expansions that they put in this one. It does kind of give you a new challenge. It's really hard too, but I think it's really well designed, because it felt like we got close to solving it many times before we actually did. And so you're like, let's just go again one more time. So that is Tranquility. Ascent coming to Kickstarter soon as well, just like I should have said that about Shifting Seasons. Both coming to Kickstarter shortly.
Late June.
We will put some information in the comments. Not in the comments, in the description.
All right, the next game is Mechanical Beast.
Yeah, so we covered it in back chat.
We did. So we did talk about this. The theme of this being we have managed to build the self-improving miracle robot.
Sentient
robot with capacity for self-improvement, which I said, that's just like me. I've got capacity for self-improvement, and I'm fairly sentient most of the time. The problem is, just like any robot story, it's gone out of control. And so as the group of engineers who helped design it, it's our job to go into the robot, find the control room, the off switch it off. And you'd think that it would just kind of switch off, but apparently it disassembles as we switch it off. So then we have to like make our way out of the lives. Run for our lives, make our way out of it. There's also randomly people living inside the robots. So we also have to make sure that, and apparently there's no, like on our way in, we're kind of be finding them, but there's no telling them. They're like, no, I've made my life here, I'm not moving. And so the only way to rescue them is when everything is falling apart, where they're like, okay, fine, I'm out of here as well. Show me the way kind of thing.
And so the way that it works is you're going to be creating some stacks of tiles. You're going to be setting up a stack of tiles that has within a certain range these set kind of tiles that are going to trigger certain things in the game. And when you first start, you start with one tile, which is the entry point into the mechanical beast, and you're going to be exploring by going through different passageways to reveal another tile and then to move into that space. Now the game is designed to be predominantly cooperative experience, or a solo experience, where you are working together to build out the puzzle first of all, to find the command room. So you'll be adding pieces, and the way that the pieces work is sometimes you'll move into a room and then you won't be able to go back because the door locks behind you. There's like a more solid door. Other times you're just going to reach a dead end, and what you've got in there, you've got the help of a little robot in there as well that's going to help you. So you've got two meeples, one of each player. and the robot, and you can move any of those around. But once you've reached the control room and you're also discovering those little other meeple people along the way. When you turn over a tile that has one of those people drawn on it, you have to add one of the meeples onto that tile. Then what happens is once someone reaches that control room, one of the meeples, one of the characters, you can press that button to shut down the android, whatever it is.
It's as soon as you discover it, you've switched off.
Yes.
You've flicked the switch button off.
And then, so you do that, and then you run for your lives. And the way that you get out is the puzzle in this game, because you want to be able to go past each of those people that you've discovered along the way and basically rescue them. But the way that the puzzle works is once you've hit that switch, as you move out of a tile, that tile disappears. Collapses. And everything kind of slides into place where that puzzle piece once was. So you're moving around based on that. But the other thing is that in order to get yourself out of dead ends, to get to new rooms that you know that you need to get to, the path is not easy. Yeah. And the way that you're going to have to work out this puzzle is using little cogs or gears that allow you to manipulate the way that the tiles are placed. So some of those gears are in the center of 4, for example, and if you stand on that, you're going to turn all 4 tiles around as far as you want. Or some of them might just trigger a line of tiles to move left or right. And there's all these like different cogs that work in different ways. And the whole game is really, I would say, like I felt almost like is less of a game and more of a puzzle. Yes. Because it's so puzzly in that you need to have a lot of spatial reasoning to know that when you turn 4 tiles in one direction or you turn one tile and the other tiles are going to turn in the other direction, just to work out what that means in terms of the path for your meeple. Yeah. So the puzzle here is extremely clever, I thought. I thought it's a very clever idea. For a game. It was originally a print and play. I know that the designer, so it's Ben Murata, but publisher is Sideroom Games, who are well known for their solo games. The designer's been working on this for a long time and did have it available as a print and play before. It's just such a unique concept that I haven't never come across before. Yeah. One of our concerns when we were talking through Backchat was the ability to turn the tiles on the table.
Because it looks amazing in the little animated GIF on the campaign of like boom.
Also when you play like digitally, so I've seen it played digitally as well in a lot of the previews, and it's very easy to rotate the tiles. When you have a set of tiles that are square and they are all in a map sitting flush against each other, it's really difficult to turn a series of them in one direction and not have the rest of the map just like messed up everywhere. Yeah. It takes a little bit of like fiddling to kind of change everything. I'm sure that gets faster the more you play it and the more you do it. But it was something that we were worried about, and it was something that was a little bit difficult in reality. When you've got 2 people playing, it's a little bit easier because, you know, Maggie would move something away so that I could turn some tiles and then she would move it back. So, you know, there are ways around it. I think that if you're into spatial puzzles, then this is definitely one to check out. It's on Kickstarter at the moment. Maggie really struggled with this cognitively.
This is not the way my mind works. So this is not something that I would be playing myself, because it's and you were even asking me about it. It's like, but you like polyomino tiles, which is also about space. I'm like, that is completely different.
Yeah, it did feel quite different.
For me, like that's more about like, well, will this fit here? But this is about the flow, and then my mind doesn't work in that way of kind of understanding. Yeah, like if you turn this way, then how's that going to affect the flow within, or so it's something that again, because my mind just doesn't go there. I don't tend to enjoy that.
I think it made it a little bit more difficult as well with the turning of the tiles, because Maggie couldn't see what was going to happen unless she actually tried it.
Yeah.
That meant that we were probably
like you have to commit. You have to then move everything around.
We were fiddling with the tiles more than probably we needed to. I didn't find it as difficult, but then what that meant is that I was kind of alphaing a bit and like telling Maggie what she should do in her turn.
I was ultra just backseat, like going, what do you think we should, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you know, we're not.
It's literally like blank. What's the blank thing that happens when they look into Homer's brain? And like there's just
with a monkey.
That's all that was happening.
The symbols.
But it's this emoji.
Yeah, but I much preferred, not surprising for us, not at all surprising for us, the competitive variant where we had to, you know, race to get out. And I won, of course, because Maggie was struggling so badly with it.
I've won it. I think she's forgetting the times where then she would leave because you have two engineers.
I did lose once.
If you leave someone stranded, then
That's right. And so, you did beat me one time.
Yeah, so it's like when you've got multiples, it happens.
So, it happened. Yeah. But yeah, it's probably. Yeah, I would say that if you enjoy a puzzle and you have the patience for a puzzle, then this is a game for you. If you're looking for more of that kind of easy-go-lucky cooperative experience, not for you. This is actually quite difficult. Yeah. You can make it harder or you can make it easier or more difficult. But yeah, it's just a really interesting concept, but one that probably just wasn't right for our brains. But,
it's not the way we think.
Yeah, but it's super unique. So that's Mechanical Beast on Kickstarter at the moment.
Oh, and the final one.
The final game is Ruthless. Now, Ruthless, we do not have the expansion because I'll tell you what happened. This is we were not sent this by the publisher. I knew that there was a countdown to securing a copy on their website. So this is Alley Cat Games. Decided to bypass Kickstarter and do a limited run of an expansion, plus you were able to pick up the base game. They made the decision to not ship to Australia for that, unfortunately. But I was so intrigued by that point, by the time I'd committed, that I did go and look for this in Australia. And there were very few retailers that had it, but I managed to find a copy. So we thought we would just buy this, play it, and give you some opinions in case you are looking to pick it up as part of that pre-order. So Ruthless is a deck building game with a bit of a twist. And the twist is that you essentially are playing poker style runs of cards. So you will be playing straights, flushes, that type of thing in this pirate themed universe. Is there more of a theme that you would like to speak to?
Ultimately you're trying to get, is it infamy? It's like the victory points for it, but then you're also going to be plundering for treasures and you're going to be brawling some other pirates out of the way. Ultimately, it's just trying to get the most infamy, which is just like, it's a parity theme. But it's largely just around the efficiency of getting making the most out of the points in whatever combination you can get them.
So what you're going to be doing in this game is, again, you're going to be starting with a deck of cards, and in this deck of cards you only have 2 basic card types. But what you're going to be doing is using those to generate money, and also to go and look for bounty or treasure and turn that into money, or to bring it into your hand to allow you to generate more money. And what do you want to do with all that money? You want to buy cards from the pirate deck. So there's going to be a market of cards available to everybody in the center of the game, and you're going to be drafting different suits and numbers of pirates. So they're just like any deck of cards, there's going to be the different colored suits, and then they're all going to have numbers, and there's a quarter, what is it called?
Yeah, and the captain.
There's
quarter
captain?
And the captain.
Is it called just a quarter?
I think it's a quarter.
I think it's got a different quarter something. But anyway, it's basically like replacing the queen and the king in kind of like a run of cards. You've also got a parrot, which acts as a bit of a wild in the mix as well. But what you're going to be doing is recruiting them, not just so that you can create straights and flushes and pairs of numbers, just like you would in a game of poker, but you're also going to be using the ability that is on those cards. So when you buy a card and bring it into your recruitment area, area, you also get to activate its special power. And that special power generally allows you to do all of those fun things that you love about a deck builder, which is to draw more cards out of your deck and give you more options to continue your play, or to discard cards or bury them is what it's called in this game, which is when you're trying to thin out your deck so that you can have more powerful cards going forward. And to allow you to mess with the other player a little bit. So there is one action that allows you to get the other player to discard a coin or a card. I like that it gives them the choice.
Yeah.
So you're doing something mean to them, but they can decide how they want that to play out. But ultimately, you're trying to create this very clean deck that's full of lots of options in terms of different suits and numbers so that you can make more efficient runs. And the way it works is that whoever has the most powerful run of cards at the end of each round gets the most victory points. So it's a really interesting way of combining these two worlds, I think. The deck builder and this like poker style card play.
Which kind of is like the final like showdown at the end of a round kind of thing with the poker.
And when we first played it, I think we were fairly terrible at it. So what's
still
happened,
terrible at it.
but both of our scores have gone up. Like as we've played this game more and more, our scores have gone up and up and up. And I think it was around the third game where it really started to click with me, like what I needed to do and what I needed to get done. And the real power of the game is the combination of cards that you're playing, or the ability to lengthen your turn as much as possible. And that to me just became more and more fun the more we played it. Yeah.
I think I haven't cracked that bit. So I kind of got stuck in going, I love deck builders. I feel like, again, because of my level of skill with this, or I just haven't seen the light, I felt like I found it very difficult to get to the point where I could do any sort of real satisfying combos, like the poker combos at the end. And then even then, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I had enough, like the game was long enough for me to get to a point where I was like, oh yeah, now I'm cooking, things are happening. But that could be because I just still haven't quite figured out.
And we've also only played it at 2 players.
Yes.
And one issue maybe at 2 players is that the market doesn't refresh as much as it would.
Yeah, so it's a bit stagnant, and it's like the same pirates are going to be there often.
Exactly. So I am like, we've been in lockdown, so we've only been able to play at 2 players, but I really am looking forward to playing with more players. At the beginning, I thought this isn't going to be a game that we're probably going to keep, but the more that I play it, the more I really recognize that this is like quite a unique game. And you really love deck builders.
I do. I'm on an edge or a line with this because I still haven't. It hasn't quite fully dropped for me. It's like I can appreciate a couple of things about it, but I'm still not like in the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to play it again. Oh, I want to. It's like I still can't quite wrap it. Like
And I agree that I didn't fall in love with it immediately, but it's like a bit of a creeper on me. Like I'm thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, actually, I would like to try it again and try out a different strategy. So for that reason, I think we'll hang on to it for a bit longer and play it. I wish I could get my hand on the expansion. If you enjoy like that kind of poker style card play and the deck building and you're interested in that, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It was quite expensive in Australia for some reason. Like I think it was like $67, which is like a lot for a small game.
Cards.
It is just cards.
A bit of cardboard.
Yeah, there's a lot of filler in the box to take up the entire box shape. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing it with more players. But I think you can still pre-order it now. So that is Ruthless, Legends of the Black Flag. I don't think I've ever read that secondary title.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the full title.
There you go. So those are 4 games. Thanks for bearing with all of our emotion today.
Yes.
But also, I hope that that gave you some insight into the games that you do and do not want to pick up in Kickstarter and pre-orders and that type of thing. We always like to talk about our own experiences, but we hope we talk about the game enough so you can make up your own mind about what you kind of like and don't like.
Yeah.
But that's everything from us. So thank you for watching. As always, we'll be back in another 2 weeks with another episode of Small Talk. We'll probably have more postcards by then, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And back chat may or may not happen in its usual format next week. We may be locked down and we may just do it as normal, or we may be somewhere else, hopefully sunnier than here. But otherwise, we'll we'll see you soon, irrespective.
Yeah. Bye for now. Bye.